Hey, it's me again. I actually think Snow White's gonna get her entire kingdom killed or, enslaved, probably within the first year of her taking control as queen. So this all comes about because when I saw the Snow White movie, and I did see the Snow White movie, I actually saw it in theaters, if you can believe that. I was most confused by the ending of the film, because there was just a lot of stuff that happened that really didn't make any sense thematically to the movie. It was really just cobbled together. And when you understand the history of how this movie even got made, then a lot of that stuff makes sense as far as like why it is such a disaster. But by this point, everybody and their grandmother has already reviewed Snow White. They've already talked about it. And you know all of the issues, everything from CGI dwarves to Gal Gadot's horrific singing and all the wooden acting, the goofy looking costumes, the horrific sets. I mean, there's a lot wrong with this movie. But I actually want to look at something very different. So this movie promised us that it was going to give us a Snow White who was a leader. Like, that was Zegler's whole thing. That's why she went off the rails and did all of those interviews and wanted to tell everybody that this was not going to be their classic Snow White. This was going to be a Snow White who wasn't looking for love. She was looking for her place in the world as a leader, and she was going to lead her people and all of that. I actually want to try to take the movie at its word. It promised a leader, so let's go ahead and evaluate Snow White as a leader. I want to see exactly which leadership skills, according to actual leadership theory, she actually applied to this character. So really quick context for those of you that don't know. Zegler and Disney, they wrapped filming back in 2022. And immediately afterwards, Zegler went on tour and started saying all the things that are now memed to death that everybody's heard before. Weird. Yep, all of that stuff. Everything from the original Prince being a stalker, the original film being extremely dated, all that stuff. The internet absolutely exploded. Disney absolutely panicked, and they ended up with about 3 rounds of reshoots. They put together a new ending. The love interest that was not there originally just got shoved back into the film with a plunger. The CGI nightmare-fueled dwarves, I mean, that was thrown in with duct tape into scenes that were not actually meant for them. And you can tell because they're there, just nobody really recognizes that they're there. So in the end, you end up with basically 2 movies that are mooshed together by executives that are all having nervous breakdowns. Half of it is girl boss, half of it is this crazy course correction to try to make it more like the original film. I'm actually going to focus mainly on the girl boss half of this film because that's what was supposed to be the whole premise, right? I don't think anything in this movie actually shows Snow leading anything. She doesn't really have any of the qualifications necessary to lead a kingdom. So let me explain. So first off is the weird begging incident. So in one scene, Jonathan gets captured. The evil queen says that she is going to punish him, and Snow White, in this moment where she could really show her quick thinking and her political savviness and, basically anything that resembles any sort of core competency, she resorts to begging and pleading and, please show mercy to this guy when she knows who this woman is, right? She's lived with her, so she can't really read the room and doesn't really know her audience, so obviously none of this works. The queen just doubles down and then decides to publicly humiliate Jonathan by stripping him and tying him to the castle gates. That didn't work, so she's not really showing any leadership in that way. If anything, this is really just showing how very childish and immature she is, and how she doesn't have the savvy. She doesn't obviously have any of the street smarts, which you'd think she would actually develop some of this because she is living in the castle with the evil queen, but she apparently has no idea who this person is. So the other one is the apple scene, which I'm going to give some credit here because the original cartoon character also fell for the apple trick, but this isn't supposed to be that same character, right? In the original cartoon, everything about her was about kindness and beauty, and she had beauty within and beauty without, and so it makes sense that she would fall for it. She was very trusting, and she trusted everybody, including the stranger. This new version of Snow White was supposed to not be that. This was supposed to be the savvy and intelligent version of Snow White who was destined to become a great leader. So she lives in a kingdom where she knows her stepmother wants her dead. She knows that magic exists. She knows that transformation spells are very real. And She was explicitly warned about danger, and the first thing that she does when the stranger comes up to her and says, "Would you like a free apple?" in the middle of nowhere, is she just takes it and eats it.
Stupid!
And again, I get it, the cartoon version fell for this too, but this isn't supposed to be her. This is supposed to be a slightly altered version of her, and boy, she just fell for it again. And obviously, if you can't identify a trap like this, then you probably shouldn't be running a kingdom. You probably shouldn't be running a bath without adult supervision. You probably shouldn't be running a lemonade stand. You probably should.
Okay, we get it.
So another key component of leadership is the ability to handle a crisis moment. When things go tits up, it's the person who steps up and has the plan and executes on that plan. I mean, that's the person that you look up to and respect. She doesn't really demonstrate any of this because most of the time she actually is the crisis. Like, she can't do anything about being poisoned because she was the one that was poisoned. She's unconscious. It's actually Jonathan that brings her back to life. It's actually Jonathan that ends up escaping the dungeon on his own, or, with the huntsman's help. It's actually Jonathan that finds her. It's Jonathan that plans the whole revolution. I feel like maybe he should have been like a prince or something, because then, she'd have somebody to lean on who actually has a little bit of expertise, but nah, we didn't do that.
I see what you did there.
So in the end, you have this climax that ends up happening to her instead of her being the hero of her own story. She ends up being more like a glorified mascot than an actual general or a leader or anything like that. And looking at the film again, I actually think that the evil queen was more qualified to run the kingdom. She's evil, it's in her title, I get it, but at least she was competent at the job. Taxes got collected, the guards stayed loyal to her, the infrastructure held, and she made a lot of really bad decisions, and, she was clearly very cruel in what she wanted, but when you watch the film, you'll notice the vast majority of her cruelty is actually towards Snow White. You never really see her specifically being cruel to other people or to her subjects. She talks about them like she absolutely loathes them, but I feel like if you talk to any billionaire about regular, normal people, you'd have the same conversation. I mean, the only people other than Snow that she's in any way really cruel to are, the huntsman who directly disobeyed one of her orders, and Jonathan the thief who stole from her royal pantries, which already shows she knows how to identify and neutralize a threat, and she really understands how to utilize her power in order to maintain power. I mean, the queen is basically running this authoritarian state, right? But it's operational. It's cruel, but it functions. I mean, people hate her, but the trains all run on time, and everything is still there, at least.
He's out of line, but he's right.
And now that the evil queen is dead, having been sucked into her own magic mirror for whatever reasons, I think Snow is going to learn very quickly what happens when you replace a competent tyrant with an incompetent sweetheart. So let's fast forward about a week or two after the queen is dead. They threw their huge party, and now life is meant to return to normal. Let's look at who's advising her right now, because she's got Jonathan and the bandits, who probably don't know a whole lot about running a kingdom. They're professional thieves. Their core skill is stealing food and running away. I guess her Secretary of State was previously, forest criminal.
This guy sucks.
And then there's the dwarves, if they wanted to stick around, which I don't think they would, because they explicitly state that they avoid humans. They want nothing to do with humans at all. They helped Snow because they liked her and she sang songs to them and got Dopey to speak again. But after that, I think they're gonna hi-ho the hell out of there. They got day jobs. I mean, they're minors. They're not really policy advisors. What the hell do they even know about humans and what they want and their needs and all that?
They hate humanity.
I don't think they'd be bothered. I don't think they would want to be a part of that. And then you've got the third kind of unseen element, which would be the queen's former staff. And that would be like the guards, who all flipped sides because a pretty girl knew their names. So that loyalty is kind of worthless. But you also have like all the bureaucrats and the aristocrats and, the people of her court who survived the evil queen for however many decades, and I think they'll eat her alive because they've been literally trained by the evil queen on how to survive. So they are going to see weakness taking the crown. So that's either going to be a whole lot of resentment or they're going to see fresh meat. Which means Snow White is going to end up basically being a puppet for whoever walks in there first with a confident voice. And it's going to end up her being just like a sock puppet with a crown. One of the arguments that you might have at this point is, well, hold on a second, the dwarves are miners and they had like buttloads of diamonds and gems and stuff. Couldn't they help? Well, let me introduce you to what I think is probably the funniest issue with the diamonds. First off, in the song Hi Ho, the dwarves literally sing, and this is like a direct lyric, "We don't know what we dig 'em for." They have been mining in this cave for 274 years, according to the film, and they have no idea why they do it, so we have no idea why. Nobody knows why they do it, because they're not using it for currency or for trade, because they all live in a filthy cottage that Snow White has to use forest animals to help clean up. That is nearly 3 centuries of diamond extraction, and they live like hoarders who are on an intervention show.
How do you live like this?
My guess is they eat them. That's what I think anyway. I think they actually eat them. Like they eat these for sustenance. They eat regular food too, but then they have to like eat these because they're magical creatures, and that just makes sense, because otherwise, what the hell are they using them for? Do they just hoard them like smog?
Was everybody for a second like, oh my god, smog?
Sorry, I went on a weird tangent there. Let's ignore all that. Let's just assume that the dwarves go, sure, you can have a mountain of diamonds, and then they give her a whole bunch of diamonds. There is this phenomenon called the resource curse. And this is actually today. There are countries with huge natural resources, diamonds, oils, whatever natural resources you want to think of, and they often perform a lot worse than countries that don't have them. So some prime examples are Venezuela, Angola, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Sierra Leone. So these are all countries that are very, very resource rich, and they are all absolute disasters. And this is because when you have resource wealth, but you don't have any institutional competence, you don't have any means for this money to actually get used properly, it ends up getting wasted. It ends up getting mismanaged. It ends up getting stolen. And you end up with this huge divide between the vast population that is absolutely poor and this small percentage, the top 1%, and they're the only ones that can actually live comfortably in these countries. So since Snow White doesn't really have any sort of, economic background, I'm pretty sure she's going to end up like a lottery winner who doesn't bother to get a financial advisor because they can do it themselves. I got this. And then all of a sudden, everything is gone. Plus, she has like this pathological need to give everything away. We saw that in the film.
How could all that money be gone?
So she's going to blow through that diamond hoard, funding pie distributions and free hugs, whatever else, while the kingdom's actual infrastructure crumbles all around her. And funny enough, that's actually best case scenario, because it could get worse. So worst case is her court starts whispering that those magical creatures are sitting on all this wealth. They're not even really citizens. They're not even human. They don't have property rights. So Snow White, who we have seen is too weak to resist pressure from people who sound like they know what they're doing, she is going to end up getting manipulated into a war with an ancient magical race that's been living underground for 3 centuries. I don't think that will end well. I mean, either way, no matter how you're looking at it, this is just like sitting on a geopolitical time bomb. So let's throw that out. Let's say that, okay, the dwarves, after they help her take the castle, they get the hell out of there, and she's left to fend for herself. I'm sure that the kingdom has some sort of normal revenue, right? It sure did. It was called taxes. Kingdoms run on taxes because guards need salaries and armies need equipment and roads need maintenance. And all this stuff requires money. Now this is where the evil queen, I think, failed the most, because the queen taxed the people very, very heavily, and she spent the vast majority of it on herself. So that's, we've seen that before in other tyrannical governments and authoritarian states. It never ends well. That's not a good idea. But the solution isn't no taxes. The solution is usually fair taxes that are spent on public goods. But based on everything that we've seen in the film, I don't think Snow White really understands any of this, because her entire philosophy is be nice and give things away, which is fine for like a bake sale, but it's not really the right philosophy for running an entire kingdom. Once she takes control, which is going to happen pretty immediately after the queen is dead, she's got two options. Option one is to keep the taxes going, collect revenue, fund the government, which basically means she is functionally identical to the evil queen as far as the peasants are concerned, and probably as far as she is concerned, which means like Jonathan is going to probably start raiding her supply lines within that first year. So obviously that's probably not going to work for her, which leads to option two, slash the taxes. Let the people keep their money and be beloved. And without a doubt, she is going to pick option two because she is so nice and because she basically does this already at the end of the movie. So she and the rest of the kingdom are going to feel really good about this. They're all going to see this as a good thing. Finally, no more oppression. The kingdom's wealth belongs to the people, and look how happy everybody is, and we're all dancing in identical white clothes for whatever reason. And this is going to last for about 6 months. After about 6 months of this, that's when the army is going to realize that they haven't been paid. That's when soldiers are going to start to desert, or even worse, they'll actually start freelancing as mercenaries and bandits and, start robbing her. That's when the roads will start falling apart, so trade routes are going to slow dramatically because merchants aren't going to want to travel across roads that are falling apart to a kingdom that looks like it's falling apart. The walls are going to start crumbling. No one's going to be there to fix it. The granary will be empty because there is no budget for winter reserves. So that was 6 months in. So at about 9 months in, that's when people are starving. That's when you really start to see the collapse. That's when the wheels start falling off. And that is when foreign kingdoms start to take notice. They see this young, inexperienced queen with no military funding, no standing army, and an empty treasury. It's going to be like smelling blood in the water. I mean, it's going to be too good to resist. So when a foreign king shows up with an army demanding tribute or territory, Snow White's not going to have anything to fight back. She has no military to resist them. She has no treasury, so she can't even buy mercenaries or alliances. She really doesn't have any other alliances except for 12 dwarves, which probably aren't going to do much against an invading army. That's if they want to show up at all. And she really doesn't have any negotiating experience at this level, because we've seen her negotiating power with the evil queen, which was just crying and begging. And that's probably not going to work here. I mean, she has pies, because she could offer them pies. Pies are good.
Do you like pie?
I do like pie.
So yeah, it'll be a pretty short war before that kingdom just completely takes over. So again, 12 months roughly. Maybe 18 if she's lucky and she actually got the loan from the dwarves. But 12 to 18, and that's about it. That's when the kingdom absolutely falls, because, I'm sure she's nice, but that kind of kindness without any sort of competency and leadership isn't what the kingdom needs in order to survive. This is like watching a slow motion car crash, but everybody's smiling. It's not good. It's not good.
You're so mean today.
And I know this may seem like I'm picking on the movie, and, I kind of am a little bit, but look, the movie itself said that we were going to get a leader, but a leader in this kind of world is going to need a lot of magical awareness, because they're in a world where transformation spells exist. This way she's not susceptible to just magic tricks and poisoned apples. She's going to need diplomatic skills to navigate relationships with magical civilizations, because I'm betting they're all not going to be as nice and polite as the dwarves were. She's probably going to need quite a bit of political cunning in order to survive, a court full of schemers and opportunists.
How many times do we have to do this damn scene?
Opportunists who were basically trained by the former queen on how to survive. I mean, Snow was going to need a lot of skills that she did not demonstrate in this movie. Economic understanding that she's never demonstrated, military knowledge that she does not have, and the judgment to know when kindness works and when strength is required. Even when she was face to face with the evil queen, she still fought with kindness, not strength, which again is okay. It's fine for the original animated version of her, but it doesn't work in this version because this isn't the Snow White that was supposed to be there. Maybe the original version that didn't have any of this, that was leaning purely on girl boss and wasn't panicking, maybe that version was different, and that, in that one she really does show all these leadership traits, but man, not in the one we got, not in the one that was actually released in theaters. Not what I saw. I saw three main traits to sum up who Snow White is in this film. She is nice, she bakes pies, and her dad was king, which basically makes her like a lottery winner with a tiara. And I really feel like in a world that is this dangerous, this is not a fairy tale ending. This is the first chapter in this kingdom's tragedy. And I'm gonna just say it, in this version, in the movie version, they were better off with the evil queen, because at least she understood that running a kingdom requires more than just good vibes and pastry, which is ridiculous, but it's true. I mean, unfortunately, you're gonna have to put up with the queen singing, and that's probably the worst torture of all, but when she's not singing, and as long as you're not straight up betraying her and you just kind of stay out of her way, you're probably fine. I don't know, man. I don't know. Snow White really wanted to be a leader, and Zegler clearly wanted her to be a leader, and the original script probably really wanted her to be a leader, but it really just showed us this character who fails every metric of leadership and then just gets handed a crown, and then she sings this song about entitled empowerment. And that is why I theorize that her kingdom is going to fall within a year to 18 months. It's either going to happen by famine, there's going to be a coup, or there's going to be a war with magical creatures, or the most likely is she's just going to get invaded by another kingdom. But anyway, that's my theory. And I would like to know from you, who do you think is the most unqualified fictional ruler that you have ever seen in a movie or a TV show? So I want you to drop that in the comments. Let me know. Let me know if there's anyone out there who can challenge Snow White for the worst choice for the crown. Anyway, that's all I've got, and I really appreciate you watching. I'm going to go, but you can see yourselves out. Later.